ready. I'm ready.
Okay,
Well,
well, yeah, like,
I'm so psyched about these shirts. And I'm really happy Shelly decided to share this because I know she's been claiming, she's favorite, God's favorite homegirl forever. And I'm just like, well, sis, I feel like I am his or her. I be calling her a woman, but I be feeling like I'm God's favorite homegirl too. So I'm just happy that she decided to like open this up for other women to like be a part of it. I think it's dope.
right. I agree too. Like, I think it's an awesome platform. Thank you, Shelly, for having us actually,
Yay, thank
and letting us
you.
come on here and just share the knowledge that we have. And as you continue to uplift women, we're happy that we're able to come here and do the same today and talk about real estate. So
Yes.
I guess I'll tell a little bit about myself. Oh, and I do have on your awesome t-shirt. I love it. It's super cute. I will be rocking this again because, like Selena said, I feel like I'm God's favorite homegirl too. So,
Exactly.
but again, my name is Icy. I'm a local realtor in Atlanta. I'm also licensed in North Carolina. Born and raised in Atlanta, so I really know the city. I've been here my whole life, except for when I went to college. So I've seen the changes from being a little kid to now that we've had as far as the real estate. And I've had my license about 3 years and some change now. So that's what I do. I really focus mainly on residential, but I do help if you are looking for like commercial properties as well. I've helped clients do some type of renovation purchases. So really anything real estate related, I do it.
And yeah, I remember Icy when you were, because I haven't been licensed. Well, okay, let me start from the beginning. I'm Selena. I'm licensed in DC and Maryland. And I remember when Icy hit me up and was like, "What do you think about getting into real estate?" And I'm like, "Yes, like you have to do it. You're going to love it." Um, so I've been licensed for a little over 4 years, not much longer. And I think it was like I started out on the admin side. I started working at a brokerage as like the receptionist, and I this was back in 2012, and like I fell in love with it. I was there for like 2 years, and I left like, okay, I'm about to be an agent. Like I'm sick of seeing all this money people are making. Like I know I can do this. Like so 2 years later, I was like, okay, got my license, and I haven't looked back. Um, Real estate is always something that you want to get into, in my opinion. Like, I just feel like this, if you want to learn about something, this is something you need to learn. You could use it for your family, your friends. It's nothing like helping your friends get a house or your family. Like, I got my sister her
Yeah.
house. I got my friend, like, a few of my friends, their homes. Like it's just a good feeling. And even people you don't
Yeah.
know, it's just like it's rewarding for you that you've helped them. So it's just,
Right. That's so
I
funny
see.
that you brought that up. That's so funny because I definitely do. And I think I talked to Sydney or someone. I told them about my plans because I actually got into real estate just because I had done the corporate thing. I worked in corporate maybe like 4 years after graduating college. And I was just like, I feel like it's something more out there for me. I wasn't completely
Hmm.
happy with my job. Like I was making money, but it wasn't just like when they say it's not about money, like I understand that now because yes, I
Yep.
make money in real estate, but I also love what I'm doing. I was making money in corporate, but I didn't love what I was doing. And I think that
Exactly.
real estate has, yeah, it's giving me the other things that were missing, like ability in my schedule, just for family
Yep.
things. I needed to feel like I was doing more in what I wanted to do. I've always been interested in like helping people. Like I was a psychology major, so I knew I was going to do something in the helping profession, but I knew that a doctor or like a nurse, that wasn't for me. I don't like blood. I knew that psychology might have been too much just because I'll be taking everybody's problems home with me. And like, it was just, I just had to find that good balance. Yeah. So like when I looked into real estate actually in college, and I was just like, I can't do real estate and focus on school and give it my all. So I put it on the back burner, and then it came back around like 4 or 5 years later, and I was like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. I prayed about it, which is what I always do about big moves I'm going to make. I went to school, got my license, passed my test, and then I started. And you know, the thing about real estate that you and I both is what you put into it. So you can be a top agent, or you can be a mediocre agent, or you can do nothing at all. You can just have your license. It's really, you make it what it is. Nobody can do it for you. So I like that about it. I know if I give it my all and do what I'm supposed to do, then I can go as high as I want to.
And see, like, so that, like, this is one my sister actually is the person who inspired me to like get into real estate. My sister Anita, girl, she paid for me to take the class like when I was 20. I was so young, and I took the class, like I passed the class, but my mind, like, I just wasn't ready. I was not ready. So like years late, I got my license like when I actually became licensed. I think I was like 26 or something like that. Like six whole years later, I'm still like, okay, like I got to get this done. Girl, and this is out there. I'm going to say I'm not proud about this, but it is what it is. Like I took that test 10 times, no cap. Like literally, like I passed the national portion on the 10th try, and then I had to take the state one more time, and then that's when I got it. But I was so, like, that thing had me crying. Like I was like, felt defeat. I'm like, but what I will say is my mindset was different. Like I was just way more focused. Like, and I think like, cause it's a lot of information that you got to just retain for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just to like, but woo, child, that thing tried to take me out, and I'm like, no, we're not about to do that. Like, no, I'm about to do this, and I would never. And what she always says is like, activity equals, like, as long as you keep doing activities, you won't be straight. And activities could be posted. It could be going, like, if as long as you're putting your energy into like real estate or whatever it is that you're trying to do, but as long as you put your energy in the right place, it's gonna flourish. So shout out to Anita.
True. So I just heard you say something about taking you out. So like, how have you been during like this whole COVID and everything? Like, has it changed for you, or like, how has business been for you? Because for me, surprisingly, business has actually picked up. And I think it has to do with a couple of things, like the interest rates being super low and people just having time on their hand to like do the application and actually, you know, we had so much time in the house. I feel like people put things like this on the back burner. So I feel like that encouraged them to like, let me go ahead and see if I can get approved for a house, or okay, the interest rate is super low, let me take advantage of that.
Yeah. Okay, so like, as far as business, I think it's steady. Like, because I definitely, it's just things kind of like counter it. Okay, so like some people will be like, oh, I'm a little worried because, you know, I'm just nervous. It's my first house. Like, I don't know if I want to go ahead and do it. But then you have other people who are like, dang, these interest rates are very, like, I'm trying to take advantage. Like, I can't tell you how many calls I got when people thought that the interest rate dropped to zero. I'm like,
Oh
bruh,
yeah,
no.
that was
The
so
interest
misleading.
rate,
And
it
they
is
put it
not
out there. I was
zero.
like, it's low, but it's not zero.
It's not zero. But it's still a great
Yeah.
time to buy. So, and I was worried. I was like my first quarter was bomb. I was straight. Like my second quarter
Mm-hmm.
started off popping. Like I'm out here. Like it's my client, that was the client that he had got money back at the table. He was a VA
Okay.
loan. He was psyched, and he was psyched that we did it in the midst of a whole pandemic. Like it was a thing for people.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it
so I mean,
definitely is.
I think it's steady. I mean, inventory is definitely low. You know what I'm saying? But that just makes the market more competitive, and you gotta be ready to
Yeah.
offer straight
And
up.
and I
Like,
think it makes it more serious. You are definitely dealing with more serious buyers and sellers.
mhm,
So not those quote unquote tire kickers. Like if you're out right now shopping, you want a house. So I can
yeah,
appreciate that.
and that's what I be telling people. Look, we we offering to win. Like, we only submit in strong offers. We don't have the time. Like, and I went through that with my last
Right.
client. The neighborhood, he wanted to stay in one neighborhood. Like, it was not up for debate. Like, it was
That's
this was
hilarious.
the neighborhood. So I was like, all right, well, the opportunity came. Like, we had put in like 3 or 4 offers on different homes in that neighborhood. And
Hmm.
I'm like, well, listen, we not about to play around with them. Like,
Yeah. If
but we
you want
also
it,
not
go
gonna
big or
over
go home.
offer. Yeah, like the
Right.
offer was just based on, it was just based on the comps, of course, and like it was perfect. It was ideal. We got in the house. It was straight. So,
Yeah. That's dope. I'm happy for you.
but yeah, definitely steady. Like, definitely steady.
My
Um, it's funny. I've been noticing, like, the people who don't occupy their homes though, they are like, all right, let me get this up off me. Like, I don't know what's about to happen. Like, I'm just ready. But then
yeah.
you got the owners who occupy, who are like, I don't want all these people in my house, which I feel you.
Right.
Like, but do you want to sell, or do you want to, like, what you want to really do? That's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah. So I mean, for me also like just the mental aspect, I feel like, you know, phone,
oh,
I
hold on, wait.
dropping my, is it the signal came back on?
Yeah, it's back. It's back.
Yeah. So like, I mean, for the mental, definitely try to, be considerate of people's, like everything that was going on. So like when we would go out, I kind of want to talk about that process, like the renting versus buying. So like for us going out looking at properties, we took precaution as far as like, you know, wearing our masks, doing social distancing. But a lot of people, like I said, they came to me and said, I'm ready to buy, I'm ready to see what the process is about. So I kind of like want to know about y'all's process, the same, because we're in Atlanta and DC, but we still like across the board process. But for us, I always tell my clients, first thing you want to do is talk to me about being your agent, and then you want to get connected with a lender. So I like to work with my preferred lenders just because having a good, solid team kind of says
Yeah,
it's smooth from the start to the finish.
for
So we
sure.
would get with our lenders,
And
and then the next step would be to do like an online application. Do y'all do that too?
definitely, we got to know what you're working with. We need to know what you
Right,
can, what the
because
debt to income looking like.
right, and I always tell people we cannot go out looking for property before we get a pre-approval. A pre-approval is the most important thing, and that's because we need to know what your budget is. I don't want to send you homes in $100,000 price range when you possibly could afford $200,000. So the first step is to do the application and get with the lender. And it's not going to hurt you. It just puts you in a better position to understand what we're able to do.
Right.
So after we do that, we basically will have a buyer's consult. I'll kind of figure out what's their must-haves in a home. Do you want a 3-bedroom? Do you want a 2-bath? Do you need a garage? We'll get all those things squared away, and then I'll start sending them listings. And I'll tell them, like, it might be 50 listings at first because we want to kind of start off broad, and then we'll kind of narrow it in as we figure out what they really like. And once we do that, their top 5 or so, we'll go out and see them. Like, we'll hit the ground, get in the car, go see them. And then, like you said, because inventory has been so low, and what we mean when we say inventory is low, it means that there are more people out trying to purchase homes than there are homes for sale. So that means if you love this one house, it's probably 5 other qualified buyers that love that one house. So I always tell my clients, yes, we have to either go big or go home. And like you said, no, I'm not spending my clients' money frivolously. Like, I'm going to make sure the offer is fair, but you also have to give a strong offer.
Right.
And then, you know, it's different ways we can write the offer to make it strong. But that's kind of what I've been doing. So is y'all's process similar to that?
The process is definitely the same, although I'm not sending you 50 homes, because what I've learned is I'm sending you 20, and then I'm going to tell you narrow it down to 10. And then if you think you like 10 of those houses, I'm going to ask you to go drive by them as well, because you know how neighborhoods are different. So I want you to go around at night, go around during the day, you know, make that assumption for yourself, because, you know, our code of ethics, we can't say but so much, but, you know, do your due diligence, make sure the crime rate is, you know, to your liking. And, but everything else is pretty much the same.
Right.
But so
your clients are coming to you.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. No, I was going to say, like, when they come to you, I know a lot of people ask me, like, well, what do I need to do to prepare? Like, what are they going to ask me for? Like, what are you telling them, basically?
So what I do, and it's in my buyer consultation. So when you take the consultation, or when you do the consultation, like, I try to ask you for at least 30 minutes, because one, I want to make sure that you definitely understand everything. But like, as far as like what the lender may ask you, they're probably going to ask you for W-2s. They may ask you for pay stubs. Like, they may ask you for 401k statements, like if you're trying to pull from that. What else? You just want to make sure you have like all of the debt that you have. You want to have the paperwork to kind of match up so that they can kind of properly assess your debt. And organization, when we talked about this the other day, Icy, like, that is, I don't even hit them with, and I think I'm going to have to borrow that, because, like, be organized. Like, because again, and yeah, you're going to have my buyer consultation. Like, I'll give you a copy and things, but I need to put in organization, because I think it would just make it a lot more easy. Like, so when the time comes, they're just ready to go. You know exactly where everything is. You know where your tax returns are. Like, we can really move, because the process, and I don't think buyers understand that, but like, we can only move as fast as you do. So, and especially the lender tells you that, and especially when you get under contract, like, time is of the essence, period. So even if that lender, I know buyers get so like annoyed when the lender is like, can I get this again? Can I get that again? And it's just like, just get it to them.
Yeah,
Because
I try
you,
to
no, go
tell
ahead.
my clients that too. Like I tell them the things you want to have. You want to have your 2 months of like check stubs. You want to have your past 2 years tax returns. The lender is going to look at your debt to income ratio. So sometimes if your debt is high, they'll give you some recommendations on like pay down a couple credit cards below
Yep.
20% of the balance, which will help you. Um, they will also require that you've been working for the past 2 years. So they need to see
Yes.
2 years of employment. And I tell people it's not necessarily that you have to be on the same job for 2 years.
You don't. You don't.
Gaps in your employment.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I know some people say, oh, well, I've only been here a year, but I was working, I got a new job. So that's totally fine. So I just make sure they know those things ahead of time. And then I literally do like an email introduction between them and my lender. It's a really quick online application where you can upload those documents. And then typically you can get a pre-approval within like 48 hours of basically
it's so fast.
Doing the application. Yeah.
Yep.
And people, I've heard a lot of misinformation to buyers. They'll say to me like, yeah, I heard it takes a year. And I'm like, literally it takes 30 days to buy a house. And some of my lenders can close in 21 days. The only time it could take longer than that is if you're doing new construction, and that's when they are literally building from the ground up. So that can be 6 months, a year, because, you know, it's dependent upon, I'm sure the same up there. It depends on the weather, and it also depends on like getting permits and things like that. So yeah. Do you get a lot of people that are renters and then they're on the fence about purchasing and buying? Do you get that?
I do. And my advice to them is, do you want to pay somebody else's mortgage, or do you want to throw money away, or do you want to make it work for you?
Yep.
It's just that it's really that simple. Because if you already are taking on the responsibility of paying rent every month, you can do that for a mortgage. And like you might, let's say you paying like $1,500 a month. What's that math? 1,500 times 12, 18,000. So listen, that's in 1 year. So if you want to pay $18,000 for no reason, or you could sacrifice, you could move. Well, if you have the luxury to move back home or move in with somebody for a year, pay your rent to yourself, and then you can accumulate your down payment. And then on top of that, $1,500 renting, like you gonna get, like, I guarantee the house that you give, you paying a $1,500 mortgage, you probably had 700 square feet, and now you finna have 25. Like, you know, like it can be, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I've rented before, don't get me wrong, but I learned the hard way.
Yeah. I tell my clients this. It's like, if you're going to spend $1,500, $1,600 on an apartment, and then you're going to have to move out and possibly pay the landlord for damages, the carpet or paint in the wall, why not spend that $1,500 on a mortgage and get you at least a $200,000 house, so that when you sell the house, at least you're getting some type of profit when you sell and some money in your pocket. Because it does not. It literally is throwing money away. And people, I think, sometimes are afraid to just try, because really the only thing the lender can do is tell you no, and then they can give you recommendations on how to prepare to buy. So it's really no harm in trying to apply for a home, honestly.
And I just saw Mia say, what about the down payments? Like, and I get it. Listen, nobody has 30,000 sitting around, but there are programs. There are programs for first-time home buyers. There are grants that you can take advantage of. Just keep in mind, with the programs, they tend to come with higher interest rates. And again, like, it's up to you if you would prefer a higher interest rate, or because like I had a client, she didn't want to put down that much money because she wanted to buy furniture. Like she literally was like, I would like to buy furniture. So I don't want to spend this much money if I don't have to up front. And then she could go refinance later down the line. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I can receive that. But definitely you can always take advantage of programs or grants. Just grants, you gotta be on
Yeah.
top of those because that money goes.
They will run out of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot see people's comments, even who's in the live. So Selena, if you see questions, definitely read them to me so we can address those. And guys, ask questions because that's what we want. That's a good example.
Yes, please.
You gave, and Mia, that was a great question. It historically has been harder for people to purchase because they do not have the money to come up with the down payment. And like Selena said, now there are a lot of first-time buyers, and some of the programs that my lender offers is not even restricted to first-time buyers. It can be, you could have purchased a house in the past. It's just they don't want you to have purchased within the last 3 years. So the thing about those down payment programs is, yes, they do typically come with a higher interest rate, but it just depends on everyone. Every real estate deal, every client is different. So it depends on your financial, it depends on what your goals are, but there are programs that take care of 100% of the down payment. So I'm going to give you guys an example of one of my clients. This was just literally, I closed on them on Monday. They had a program that took care of their down payment, and because of COVID, the down payment program had a lower rate also. It wasn't even inflated at like 5%. It was in the 3s. So it really made sense for my client to take advantage of it. So their home was $280,000. They did a 3% down payment. So that was about $8,400. That was covered by the program. I was then able to negotiate something called closing costs for them, and those are always the buyer's responsibility, but every agent or most agents, if you have a good one, is going to try to negotiate that the seller pays those. So I negotiated the seller paid $10,000 costs for them, and because that $10,000 was covered and their down payment was covered, my client literally got $2,000 back at the closing table. So instead of them having to bring funds, they got a check back of $2,000. And now they have, I think their mortgage was about $1,700 a month, but they're literally getting a $280,000 house. So, you know, everyone, the more we talk about that too. When we say we want you to have a certain credit score, I encourage people to have like at least a 640, because that gets you a competitive interest rate, and then it allows you to qualify for some of those down payment programs, right? And what the interest rate does, the interest rate, your credit score drives your interest rate, and your rate drives the mortgage. So the higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate. The lower your interest rate, the lower your mortgage. So just because that client had a $1,700 mortgage for a $280,000 house, you could have a higher credit score than them, and your mortgage could be even less. And then Selena made a good point about refinancing, which is something totally different, like a deeper conversation, but there are definitely ways to get your mortgage lower.
Just the same way with the like if you're thinking about, I know everybody's probably hopefully everybody has bought a car before. And I mean, I know I've refinanced my car plenty of times, just so I could get a lower monthly rate. And it's just the same with the mortgage. Hold on, wait. We do have questions. Hold on, wait. Shayna.
I literally can't see.
Do you have to pay it back? I think you're talking about. We must have been talking about the programs or grants. So sometimes it just depends on the program. Grants typically you don't. Grant is literally like granting you money, But
Yep.
programs, it just depends on which one. So sometimes you may have to pay them back, or you pay them back through the interest rate.
Right.
So it, yeah, right, yeah. So yeah,
That's how ours
they
is. Like here in Georgia, it's the reason that the rate is inflated, that's your kind of payment on it. So you don't
right,
have to pay it back. And some of the programs, they'll only have an inflated interest rate for like the 6 payments of the loan, and then it'll drop down. Like they'll do a rate drop. So no, it just really depends. I try to definitely refer my clients to programs where they don't have to pay anything back or it's a grant.
right. And then one more question we had from Robbie: Is it now a good time to buy or wait? Okay, so in my opinion, I think it's a perfect time to buy. Why wouldn't you? The interest rates
Yeah.
are low, and
Yeah.
like people haven't seen like it become like the housing market. They don't think it's going to crash, but again, we don't really know either. But what's a fact is that when you have low interest rates, when you have low interest rates, you have a high demand because the buyers want to buy when the interest rate is low. So with
Mhm.
that, are going to be looking for homes. Sellers are going to want to put their houses on the market. And I just, it's always a good time to buy. Like, I'm an advocate for
Yeah.
buying. Like, again, because what you going to do? Rent? No. Like, what you
Right.
want to throw money away? No. Like, we can't afford to do that anymore. Like, it's,
Yeah.
especially with these
I
times
I
now,
think
like,
that
we got to own.
yeah. I agree with you. I feel like I ask people that question, or when people ask me that question, I say it's always a good time to buy because property and land is they're not making any more land. So if you can get your hands on some property, then do it. Now, for you specifically, I feel like people that have jobs that they feel, somewhat secure in and they have met those requirements that we talked about earlier, it's an excellent time to buy because if you're going to buy, you definitely want to take advantage of the low interest rate because we don't know when
Right.
the rates will be this low again in history. Like this is historically like one of the lowest points that the rates have
In the
reached. And
last,
like
in
you
since
said,
20 years, like, it's a thing.
yeah.
They're really, really
And,
low. They're great.
and then yeah. And then like home ownership is so important. Like that's another reason why I'm happy I'm in real estate is just to educate people because I feel like they don't understand how it can work for them and how they can benefit from
Right.
it. So it's like we all are going to need somewhere to live. We don't want to, God forbid, live on the street. So it's either renting or buying. I'm going to choose to buy because again, when you own something, that gives you leverage. So I have another story for y'all. I have a client who purchased a property in Atlanta. It was a mixed neighborhood and it was like a growing neighborhood. It was like one of the first areas they started doing a lot of like renovations and upgrading the area. So it was just projected it was going to be near something called the Beltline, which we do have, but back then it was just like a rumor or like the plans for what was going to happen in the city. So she probably bought her
Hmm.
house around what, maybe 150,000, maybe 200 in that price range, about 2007 or 8. And now, I guess I don't know. I don't count my math, but just say 15 years, we had about $300,000 or $400,000 in equity in her house. And when we talk about the word equity, that just means like the value that you or the accumulation in value that you've gotten in the property. So if she bid for 150, the equity means the home is now valued at like 600,000. So what she did
Wow.
was she did something called a rent. So that's what Selena was talking about earlier. Go to the bank, they look at your profile now. They say, okay, you have really good credit. Um, the interest rates are this now. So let's see what you qualify for. So she was able to basically pull about $300,000 in equity out of her house. She used it to consolidate some of her debt, like pay off credit cards. I think she had a small student loan. And then she used the rest of the money and purchased a condo downtown. So now she is not only a homeowner, but she's now an investor because she condo with just funds that she had from purchasing her first property. So that's like how
Exactly.
real estate is like leverage. You live in your home. As you live in it, the value starts to increase. As the area grows, so does your home value. And then you can pull equity out to do whatever. Sometimes people use it to pay for their kids' college. Sometimes people use it to make renovations on homes. And sometimes people use it for what she did, to go purchase another property and start their investment portfolio. So it's just so many ways that you can build wealth through just even purchasing a home. I know people sometimes want to get into investing but don't have like money for down payments or whatever, because you can't use first time buyer programs for investment
Right.
properties.
You
Those
gotta
programs
have
are only
like
for
10 to
owner-occupied.
20%. Yeah.
Right. So
So
that's
to touch
another
on
way
that,
to get
like,
into investment.
right. And like, so, okay, yes, we know home ownership generates wealth, like for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you can do it through, like Icy was saying, you can do it through so many ways. Like, so you just have to pick which way works for you. Like, even
Right.
if, like, cause I know I run into a lot of people who, like their income might not be exactly where they want for the type of home that they want. So what I suggest, buy anyway, buy what you can afford, and
Yep.
just make it an investment property. Like, you may have to live in it for a year, but you can do that. And then again, you can get your down payment from when you refinance that house, and then take that equity up off the top, and then that's your down payment. It's just, there are literally so many different ways. Or one thing, I'm in an investing class now, and I'm learning, and this is the type of investing I think I want to do. I want to do it through rental properties. I want to buy and hold, and then I want to
Mm-hmm.
refinance the
Yeah.
home, take the equity off, and then put it into another home. And and
Yeah.
and then what I'm learning
I
about now is land. Like, we need, if you buy the land and then build on the land, and it could be a business, or it could be a home. Like, it's just, there are literally way too many ways for you to to generate wealth through home ownership. I just feel like you just got to start, and you just reach out to somebody,
yeah.
talk to them, like, ask questions. It takes, like, we
Yeah.
don't, and I think a lot of people get confused. Like, to talk to us, it isn't, it's free. You
We
can
don't
you
charge.
can literally, yeah,
Yeah.
we don't charge for stuff like that. And typically when
Just
you're buying
call us and have
anyway,
a conversation.
exactly. But when you're buying anyway, you don't pay us. Like, the seller pays us. Yes, there are fees. There are fees with buying a home. Like, that's no secret. But you don't pay us. Like,
Right.
the seller typically pays us.
Yeah. It's
And
just like getting a service and someone to have your back when you're making like one of the most important, largest purchases of your life, but you don't have
right.
to pay. And that's what we want to encourage people to. Like, if you guys are even thinking about the process, I know this could be a nation in one setting, but even if you are
Yeah.
thinking about the process, just call us, because like I said, every person's situation is different. So that's our job to kind of and work with the lenders to give you a tailored plan for how you can get to the home ownership goal. And like Selena said,
Or
people
whatever
sometimes
goal
say,
it
oh,
is.
yeah. Or if you're trying to sell, yeah. If you're trying to buy, if you're looking to do investments, like, just talk. We can kind of help you plan it out, because we do this every day. So we know the routes. And like she said, I have people come to me sometimes like, oh, I only make 30,000. I only make, I'm like, don't say you only make, like, you have a job. That's the first thing. If you're paying
Period.
rent, you can probably pay a mortgage. And then
You
sometimes,
can.
no, the first home we get, yeah. The first home we get is no, it's not going to be that big house on the hill, but that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. You buy your first house and then you upgrade. You sell it or you keep it and you move on to the next. So it's just a matter of getting started, honestly. And yeah, I think
So
I don't know anybody that has purchased from me that has said they regretted it.
no one does. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. Like I've never, yeah, it's literally like I regret buying this house. Said no one. Like
Yeah,
definitely
I
there
don't
are
have.
things that happen, but if you have
Yeah.
homeowners insurance, like I felt so bad. My sister's house, she had there was something going on with the air conditioning unit. Something happened, but
Mhm.
because she had insurance, which is something that I typically get the seller to pay for, like not the insurance but the warranty. So
Warranty.
if something
Yeah.
happens, right, if something happens within like the first year of you living there, it's going to be covered. um
Right.
but hold on, wait, there was a few questions. Hold on. So someone said, are y'all seeing the unrelated lending practices like we saw in '08? No. No, sir. Like
Oh no.
that's not even and I don't even, again, when, and I've already talked to Icy, I can say this for both of us. The people that we choose to work with are stand up across the
Right.
board. Like I
Right.
know them personally.
Yeah.
Like I know
And
what type
we've
of
done
people they
multiple
are.
deals with them so we can kind of speak to it. And that's a good question. The things that were happening in '08 are kind of, that
Yeah.
is what caused the market to crash because of unfair
Exactly.
practices and them doing a lot of illegal things. So once the stock market, or I'm sorry, the housing market crashed back then, they put so many precautions and different procedures in place to prevent that from happening now. So I know back then I was not in real estate. I was in like high school, but I know from like
Yeah.
research and my mentor, my broker, that basically people would just say, "Oh, I make 100,000." They didn't have to provide their check stubs or bank statements. There was no
They were
verification of
wicked.
employment, and it was
Like,
like, yeah, it was like stated income. So people were just saying anything, and they were literally just giving them loans on property caused it, because people were trying to purchase things that they couldn't afford. Now, my lender will tell you your max. And I even tell people, even at your max, if you don't feel comfortable with that monthly mortgage, then we're going
period.
to fall under that. We don't ever want to push people above what they're comfortable of
And that's the first
basically
thing I
doing.
like, along with like saving money and getting your credit score to like where it needs to be. I tell people, get an idea of what you want your mortgage to be like. Know what you are comfortable with paying, because again, like you said, they're going to approve you for what you're like, what you can afford on paper, but what are you comfortable
Right.
with paying?
Yeah.
And then they can tailor, your purchase price to the
Yep.
amount that you want to pay.
Yeah.
So
I had a client recently
yeah.
get approved for like 450,000. She was like,
Yep.
dang, like I didn't think I was gonna get that. But guess what? We're looking in the 300,000s because she said this
Yeah.
is what I'm comfortable paying, and I said, cool, that's what we're gonna stick to. Like we're not gonna, you don't have
Yep.
to push it to the max. Did you say it was some more questions?
Hold on.
But yeah, I definitely want you all, or if you have friends or family that just want to have that conversation, like definitely send us a message, because
For sure.
I feel like the education piece is what's missing in our community. Like just even with the whole Black Lives Matter going on, like I really want us to, I feel like we are already on top. That's why so much hate on us, and that we have
Mm.
prevailed through so much, and like looking at history, but it's like we still can do so much more for ourselves and for our people, but it's sometimes we don't know things. So I definitely try to promote that. I want to talk about first time buyer programs. I want people to understand how owning can work for them and change their lives, change their children's lives. So yeah.
Yeah. And again, if you knew better, you do better. simple. Like, it's just like if you knew the information, you would act accordingly. Like, but you just gotta ask. You literally have to just inquire about ownership. That's it. We can figure something out. Even if you might not know what you want to do, but we can get on the phone and figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
that's not the first step is reaching out to a realtor. That's
Yeah.
the first step. And then
And also
9 times out of 10, we're gonna take it from there.
oh yeah. Every realtor is different because everyone handles and runs their business as they want to, because we're all our own businesses, our own companies, and I'm more hands on with my clients, especially because I do work with a lot of first time buyers, but I work with people that are on their third homes as well. But because we do this every day, I know you don't remember the process or what's supposed to happen. So I'm like super hands on. I'm like holding your hand like a baby, like the whole way. But I just think that what I want people to know from this live is that homeownership for all of us is attainable. Like, don't feel like it's out of your reach. Don't feel like, oh, I don't have this in order and I don't. If you don't, we just get on a plan to get you to that place.
Yeah. Hold on, I got a question. He says, "What are some tells that an area is looking slash going to grow?"
When you
I
see
mean,
when you see a lot of commercial improvements happening, you know that that area is about to develop. If you see them building grocery stores or renovating movie theaters and things, that area is about to grow in all aspects. It's going to do commercial, then it's going to do residential.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it could be anything from a hospital, a
Mm-hmm.
grocery store,
Yep.
um, literally anything that's gonna make like they have redid our neighborhood mall, like where we grew up. They kind of redid the front of it, and it's in Temple Hills, Maryland, but it's not far. Everything is right on the border of DC. They're just getting ready,
Yeah.
and I keep telling people Suitland is low key lit, just
Yeah.
because it's so close to, when you get those outside areas, like right outside like a primary city, those are the ones that you know are
Are
that
getting some growth.
buy there, because right now property is still cheap over there.
Yeah.
It's going to be just like DC,
That's kind of,
except the prices are just going to be cheaper.
yeah. Like an example for Atlanta, I know that if y'all are familiar with like Riverdale, that area was not very popular, but they put the Porsche dealership out there a couple years ago. So I noticed when they
Mm,
did that, I'm like, okay, something's about to happen in Riverdale for them to do that. Because first of all, when you think about that commercial space, all those people and the jobs that they brought to that area, those people are going to need
yeah.
places to live. So then the next thing happened was like the homes. Like if you go Riverdale, McDonough, like that area is, it's so much new construction. It's like its own little city, where they're building so much there that the people in those areas are not having to come to Atlanta to go to concerts or to go to, just the popular things that were typically just in the city of Atlanta. They're like building all of that out there for that community. So that's a good sign. I tell people to look online, like there are websites like curbed.com. It talks about new things happening in your city.
And even for us here, like the PG County website, we've known about, there's a new hospital being built like over there in the Largo area, and it's just important because I think a lot of people who have investment properties in that area may not even know about, what's coming. And
Yeah.
then, like, I have a client who wants to rent her property out in the area. She's like, having to reach out to the owner, like, um, I need you to, like, because their condo is like joint. So she's been kind of reaching out to him, trying to get him in line, because she's like, listen, like, I'm trying to rent my property for top dollar.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. This, it's coming. What's coming is 5 minutes away from me. I want to reap the benefits, as she should.
Right.
And Amazon is being built over in Virginia, so that commute ain't nothing. But we only have 6 minutes left, so I want to. If you all have more questions, please ask us.
Yeah.
I want
to know who is here in the live who are currently homeowners, like, or are there people in the live who have been thinking about it, but they're like on the fence? I kind of want y'all to let us know that. And if you were on the fence, like, could you just tell us a reason why you were on the fence?
Yes, because we would love to get you on the home ownership side for sure.
I'm actually trying to buy something this year for real, y'all. Like, for me, because I'm an entrepreneur, we have a little bit more strict requirements, and we'll talk about that too. Like, I know people that work, I guess, what is it, W-4s or W-2s that you receive from your employer. Yeah. It's kind of straightforward for you, and some of us are entrepreneurs, so we have to like provide our 1099, and we have to show a little bit more than 2 years. You have to show 3 years of employment and things. So I'm getting all that together, but I'm definitely buying something. I really want to buy like 2 things because I'm not one of those people to not practice what I preach. So just know I'm looking to purchase some things this year.
I see Shelly says she's thinking about it, but she's about to hop out there. So Robbie, I got you. I'm going to call you. Taka, she's going to be moving back to Atlanta, Icy, so she's going to be calling you as well.
I've been talking to her too, and Shelly. Me and Shelly had a talk this week. Me and Takara have been talking. I'm waiting on you.
And hold on. Shayna wants to do a flip. I hope did I pronounce that right?
Shauna, does it say Shauna Pope?
Shauna. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, Shauna.
That's my girl. Shauna is really doing her thing. She's another story to talk about. I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about her real quick, but she bought right when we got out of college. She bought in an area that was a developing area in Atlanta. It's booming now. It's East Atlanta, if y'all are familiar. And she got a lot of equity in her home. Yes. She pulled it out. She moved to Chicago for work, and she bought her a freaking quadruplex, and she renovated it. So now she lives in one of her units and has 3 tenants in the other. So guess who's paying the mortgage for her on her quadruplex that she owns? It's not her. It's those tenants. And then the house that she has.
That's how you do it.
Yes, the house that she has in Atlanta, I put that on the market for her to rent. So she's getting income from that as well and living for free. And she owns basically a mini apartment building, and she owns a townhouse here. So these are real life examples. I'm trying to tell you guys like how it could work, just how it works for her and a couple of my other friends.
That is so tight.
Yeah, I'm like literally on the same path as her. So I'm not making it up. It's not hearsay or I heard. I literally have seen it.
And it's just off of. She probably didn't really know what she was doing outside of college. That's why you just gotta jump out there.
I don't know, but I don't think. I think she just knew that purchasing was a good thing because again, owning something is always going to be better than renting.
So it's telling me we have 1 minute and 50 seconds. So
well, guys,
but
it was fun.
This was great. This was so good.
We gotta see each other soon too. Like if you come to Atlanta or I come up there after all of this craziness.
For sure. I'm just dying to get out of town.
No, seriously. We need another trip, Shelly. You need to plan a birthday trip, even though it's not your birthday. That's where Shelly and I met. It was on your birthday trip, on her trip.
But isn't it coming? Well, is that canceled? I guess it's canceled.
No, it's coming. Wow. Wait, what month is this? January, March, April, May, June, July. It's coming up.
It's August, so September sis, when is the birthday? Please tell us. When do we need to be ready?
It's coming up because her and Mia's birthday are like a day apart.
Houston. Ain't that a hot spot? I don't know about Houston.
See, no, we're not doing that.
I'm scared.
But thank you, Shelly. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes.
She'll have our info below the post, the live. Like, if you guys need to talk to me, if you're in Atlanta or Charlotte or North Carolina, just send me a message. I'll definitely love to have a conversation. Selena is in Maryland and DC area.
Yes, ma'am. If you want to do Virginia, we can work it out.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Yeah.
But call us, DM us, please. Save this.
All right, y'all.
I won't forget. All right, Icy. See you soon.
Talk to you. Bye.